a pre-record, so obviously, we can edit bits out. Are you happy just to roll with it?
Yeah, man. I'm pretty transparent with my stuff, so just go for it, and with or without, what's it? I have a habit of dropping F-bombs here and there. Do you have a PG crowd, or do you care, or does it matter? How do you?
Don't worry, it's a pre-record, so I can edit anything out.
Okay, all right.
It's not
okay, cool.
Suitable.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
great.
Here we go. I have on the line a very clear and wonderful line, actually. Canadian singer-songwriter Will Black. Will, am I calling you in Estonia?
Yeah, it is 11 a.m. here in Tallinn, Estonia, the capital of Estonia, Northern Europe.
Now, hang on a minute. We've got a Canadian singer-songwriter who plays a lot in Bermuda, living in Estonia. How does that all come about? Or should we?
No. I'll give you the Coles Notes version. It's basically I from 2005 to 2017, or recently, I was performing at a bar called Hog Penny in downtown Bermuda, we'll say, and it was great. It was a house gig for about 12 years. It was my day job, playing music in a bar, doing cover songs, getting everyone singing along 5 nights a week. Brought that to an end. It was a mutual decision just to sort of move on with things, and move to Estonia because my wife is from here originally, and I've got a young son who's 3, and it's just we're in a really great neighborhood. His preschool is around the corner, so this has all set everything up perfectly for me to now focus full time on being an independent rock musician full time, which is why we're having this phone call today.
Cool. Now, you were sort of growing up in the 80s in Canada, and you were fascinated by your mum's 6-string guitar. Was she a singer-songwriter as well?
No. My mom is been musically inclined all her life, has never done it professionally, and has dabbled in different instruments throughout her life. And at the time, when I got throughout the 70s, she was messing around with guitar. So there was always an acoustic guitar in their bedroom, kind of propped up in the corner, but she never played it. She actually stopped playing guitar shortly after I was born, and she never really picked it up again. She plays a bit now. She's actually just started taking lessons sort of like 40 years later. Because I remember because she's in her mid-60s now, and she I was giving her pointers on what kind of guitar to buy as a novice. So, but that was a recent Skype chat we had, I remember, not too long ago. So yeah, she's picked it up again, and she's always been a good musical influence, sort of like from the instrument end of things, and she sings a lot in choirs. And then my dad was sort of the actual music content influence. He listened to a lot of rock, and that sort of just bled into my influences as well.
Okay, one question I've got to ask you, and you can slap me around the head if you don't like it. I guess every kid growing up in Canada at some point has to have joined in or wanted to be part of Bryan Adams. Did you find Bryan Adams was a huge influence on you?
He was. And I think I'll give you a small slap on the side of the head, because I think I got to be honest, I don't think Bryan Adams is one of the most patriotic Canadian artists. If you spoke to a Canadian, he's not. He's actually spent the last 25 years living in your neck of the woods in the UK. And there's a whole other story behind that. He married an English gal and all that stuff. So he's got 2 young daughters that he's raising in the UK. But I personally have always loved Bryan Adams. I'm a big Bryan Adams fan. My dad's a big Bryan Adams fan. I kind of came on board when Into the Fire released, I think in 87, 88. The thing is, in Canada, there's a lot of really great Canadian rock bands that aren't known sort of outside of Canada, but to Canadians are very near and dear to their hearts, like the Tragically Hip, the Guess Who. I'm a big fan of a band called Big Wreck, which is they sort of broke in the late 90s. They're 25 years now into their career. And they're a really great progressive rock band, very heavy, very melodic. So there's lots of fantastic music in Canada. I mean, there's like 50,000 of us, so there's got at least a few decent musicians in there. Yeah,
but you also did they call it in the UK the cruise line thing, the cruise line tour.
Yeah.
How did you get on with that? Because I mean, a lot of people find that sort of so depressing, but you
cruise
seem to
line
blossom.
circuit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me correct myself. There's 50 million Canadians.
Yeah, I was going to
not
say
50,000.
50,000.
Not 50,000. That's about how many people live in Bermuda, by the way, is about 50,000. So the cruise ship gig, long story short, I was doing the pub circuit as a weekend warrior in about 2001. My buddy Ray and I had a duo, a guitar singer kind of rock duo called the Door Crashers. We hooked up a gig on Carnival Cruise Line sailing out of New Orleans. It was a fill-in gig for another act that had to jet out of there because of an illness. So that was really the only way we got in. We knew we'd be sort of on standby, getting on board one of these ship gigs. And we never played any of these ship gigs. We had an agent, got in. Of course, he raked us with a contract fee and all this other bullshit just to get us in the door, whatever. And it was great. I met my wife on the cruise about a month and a half in. We're still together 16 years later. And what the big thing was, and I'm going to say this to any musician out there, when you get a cruise line gig, what you get is an awesome opportunity to just woodshed and focus on being a great entertainer and a great performer on your instrument, because you play a lot. You play on some lines on Carnival. I played every day. I sang every day. And once you get over sort of the the hurdle of being able to do it as an endurance sport, which is kind of what it is, especially if you're fighting off crazy ship colds and other things that happen on a ship. I mean, on a ship, you're basically drinking, shagging, singing, and lying around in the sun. So it's all fun stuff. But as you're doing all this fun stuff, you're actually getting really good at your craft. And they say it's always a place for people who are either just out of school or just out of a marriage.
Yeah.
And that's really what you find in musicians. You find young guys in their early 20s that just come out of Berkeley or whatever college they've done. Or you find older guys like my buddy Dave, who just broken up with his wife and was out there just, moving on with the rest of his life. And so you find guys in their kind of early 40s, late 30s, and young guys. But you know what? It can be a slog if you treat it that way. And after 18 months of doing it, I needed a break. I went back to the cruise ships a few years later as a solo gig just for a year. You take what you can from it, and it's great stuff if you look at the positive.
Now, all through this, you've been recording as well. You did record at the Metalworks studio in Toronto?
That's right. Metalworks is year in, year out been voted as one of the top studios in Canada. And in 2008, that's when I did my first record. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just as social media was starting to break, so all the information on how to do everything was just sort of coming out there. MySpace was still really popular back then, if anyone remembers that. So, it's going a ways. So yeah, I just jumped in feet first. I hired the best studio musicians I could find, which they were so great and just awesome personalities. I still use them to this day. On the new record I'm working on right now, I'm using the same rhythm section I used 12 years ago. Yeah, it was all a big experiment.
Now, when you're recording, do you use the same band as you tour with?
Well, I would say no, because when I tour, I don't use a band because I'm everything I do is self-initiated, self-funded. I don't have the resources to tour the band because I can't fund. I don't have enough draw when I go to a venue to hire touring musicians. So I do everything solo. So what I'll do is when I do a show nowadays, half the show will be like acoustic unplugged. The other half will be with my electric guitar. I might throw in some backing tracks from the album or maybe a couple covers just to fill out and kick ass a bit with dynamic wise. And that works really well for me because I'm a singer songwriter. I can accompany myself and it works well. I would love to do something with a trio and get out on the road and hopefully in 2020 the fan base will be strong enough to warrant something like that.
Now, you've got an album out, which is just recently come out, I think. What's the title of the album? Right.
So you might be referring to what I'm calling my XP CD. And I put that out last summer. It was very kind of a wham bam, just threw it together. It's actually a best of. It's basically tracks that I've selected from the first 3 albums I did. And I'm using it as almost like a promotional disc.
This is Dancing with the Dead, yeah?
That was the first one I did, 2008.
Oh, right. I thought that was more recent.
No, and then 2013 I did Dangerously Close, and then recently was 2016 I did Cry Like Hell. So there's 3 I've done. Yeah. And then I'm working on the Blinding Heights right now, which will be debuting November 15th.
Now, these albums are available through your website, aren't they?
Yeah, through my Shopify page, which is my web store. That's where I sell everything now.
Okay, well, we're going to obviously use a couple of those tracks in this interview as well.
Yeah.
Now, when you're touring, do you find it easy to actually sit down and write as well? Or is it, I'm either on tour or I'm writing? You can't do both?
Oh, yeah. I can't do both. Not a fucking chance. When I'm on the road, because I'm booking everything myself and I'm managing everything myself, I actually I stack 4 to 5 shows a week, and with driving and traveling and checking in, checking out, and traveling and eating, there's no time to do anything except just when I have a break, just catch a little bit extra rest and be ready for the shows. I normally do a 2.5 hour show without a break, so I got to make sure I'm feeling good. And writing on its own is a pain in the ass, even when I'm not touring. So for me, I could never write and tour at the same time.
Now, doing something like this, touring on your own as a solo artist, it's got to be, as you were just saying there, there's so much planning. I mean, okay, when you look at somebody like the Rolling Stones, they've got about a team of about 1,000 people that organise everything for them, and they just walk in, do the gig, and go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have to do so much forward planning, there's so much that can go wrong. It must be an absolute nightmare.
You're right. It's a lot of prep to do it. I've never had anything go nightmarishly wrong. I've had things pop up where you're like, oh shit, and you just roll with the punches and you come up with a substitute, and you always got kind of a plan B and stuff. But to be honest, I've never really had a major problem during any of my shows or even the touring. And knock on wood, I've been lucky, but I also plan a lot, and it is a lot of work. It's very tiring. I find when I get after doing a week or two of these sort of intensive road tour things, I crash for about a day or two, and then I come back to myself. But I'd love to have a team of 1,000 people doing everything for me. The thing is with the guys like the Stones, a lot of people don't understand is whether it's the Stones or it's a mid-level band like Big Wreck, like I was talking about earlier. These bands, when they're on the road, it's really a lot of the same old. You're checking in, checking out of hotels. You're sitting in a hotel room. You're in an interview doing publicity. You're at an airport traveling. You're on a plane. It's a lot of the same thing over and over and over and over again. And if you're doing something that's months on end, which I don't do that kind of touring, but a lot of label artists do, especially with a lot of money and revenue involved, so they have to be out on the roads for so long. It's a real grind. And I'm not saying I'm playing the world's tiniest violin here, because it's there's a lot of shit jobs out there where it's like, yeah, man, try being a coal miner. I got it. But what I'm saying is that the glam of being a touring musician isn't quite all it's caught up to be. I mean, when you get on stage at night and the sound check's done and you actually hit go and you're doing your 2-hour show, that is definitely the highlight of your day and your week, is doing those shows.
Yeah.
It's the same for me as well.
Yeah, it must be, because I mean that's what it's all about at the end of the day. The elements are recording, writing, and playing. And playing, I guess, is the one where you get the best reaction, because, well, that's the one where you meet the people.
Yeah, and in my shows, I at least up to this point, I've always scheduled meet and greets with people before the show. So I give myself an hour and a half after sound check and before the show start to just walk around, talk to people. I got music playing in the background, and a lot of my fans are who come to my shows are super fans. They support almost everything I do. So having that one-on-one is really important. As an independent artist, you find that you have a lot of people have a small group of fans that support a lot of what they do. It's not just sort of, for instance, give you an example. When I do a show in London, in Hoxton Square at the Underbelly, there's no walk-ins. It's very, very few I have walk-ins. Everybody buys their tickets in advance. People can buy at the door, but what I'm saying is a lot of these shows are showcases, meaning like I rent the room. I already know pretty much who's going to buy tickets to come. It's kind of like how many people they're going to bring. I don't know. But you figure that all out in advance. So the people that come are invested already in your music. They might bring somebody who's new, and that's cool, and you get them involved as well. But it's a different dynamic than going into like on a tour where you're just playing a venue where they have original acts every week, and you got to have a draw. You have to have your own draw to make this work. If you don't have a draw, you're screwed.
Okay, so how important to you is social media?
Oh, 99.9%. This is only I'm only able to make this work through social media, specifically through Facebook. I've done it all with Twitter, Instagram. I've done live streaming. And at the end of the day, it comes down to having a strong social media presence on Facebook and then interacting with those people on Facebook on I would say a daily basis. There's always something for them to look at, to comment on. You comment back. You build up a relationship with these people. They get attached to your music, and you just nurture that relationship, and then you create new music. And out of all that, you find a way to monetize this music, meaning you ask your fans to give back. Say, look, I've got a new album coming out. Buy the CD, buy the download. Buying the downloads is actually changing for me now because I'm finding that's less and less relevant. More like, here, buy a lyric book that goes with the album, buy a shirt, buy a live experience, whether I do a private live stream with them or maybe a tour show or something. There's always merch I'm creating that they want. They're happy to support if you give them the opportunity to buy something and support you. So even though you're selling to your audience, they're happy to buy because they know they're supporting you and keeping you in business, creating new music.
That's very important, isn't it? Okay, one more question, and then I'm going to let you go because what time is it over there? You said it was 11?
It's 11:30 now. Yeah, I think I'm an hour ahead of you. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be time for breakfast. Just one more quick question then, and that is, when you are up there on stage, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the big gig, or do you like the small, very intimate ones?
Man, they've all been small, intimate ones up to this point. So I prefer whatever I can get. I got to be honest. I haven't done many big gigs in my career. I don't think I've ever done a gig over 150 people. So they've all been intimate. I love them. It's great. You learn to connect with people one-on-one, make eye contact, and try and connect with everybody in the room. And that's fantastic. I don't ever want to stop doing those kinds of gigs.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Good luck. And you never know, maybe one day we'll see you down here in Spain.
I'd love to come down to Malaga. That's where you're at, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay. You take care now. And once again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, that's great. And when would you be publishing this interview, and can I share it?
Right. This will go out not next week, the week after.
Okay.
I will send you a copy and do with it as you wish.
Yeah, no, it's great content. People like hearing these interviews, and it gives me a chance to plug your show and just get a bit more content out there. So,
okay, just got to do a little bit of editing, and then we'll send a copy over to you.
Sounds great.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks so much, and thank you for reaching out to start to arrange this interview. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Take care.
Okay, take care.
And you. Bye now. Okay, well, all right.